I'm better than every other girl in every area of MMA. MMA striking is different, and I think I'm the best at it. I'm still undefeated because being defeated is a choice.
I think that it's probably just hard for her to really maybe admit that I was just the better fighter.
It's not an act. I'm not going out there and doing their fucking act anymore. I meant that I'm going to disrespect the sport that they all love so much. It's scripted, it's made up, it's not real.
An ego that could rival Everest. That's the simplest way to sum up Ronda Rousey. 12 consecutive victories, 6 dominant title defenses, opponents flattened in under 60 seconds. Rousey didn't enter the octagon like a competitor, she tore through it like a force of nature. Cold, merciless, unrelenting. She wasn't just winning, she was redefining dominance. The undisputed queen of the UFC. The first woman to make a brutal, male-dominated sport bow to her presence. But that flawless streak planted a dangerous seed, the illusion that defeat was impossible. Ronda started believing her own myth. Each blink and you miss it win only swelled her ego, dulling her drive to adapt, grow, or stay sharp. Confidence morphed into cockiness. And that cockiness? It became the crack in her armor. Then came 2 brutal nights that shattered everything. Holly Holm dismantled her like a rookie. Amanda Nunes flattened her in just 48 seconds. No apology. No public statement. No redemption arc. Just silence and a reluctant return to WWE, where the crowd greeted her with boos, not cheers. The fighter once called unstoppable had become a punchline. But what truly caused the sudden and spectacular fall? Was it a bloated ego? A refusal to evolve? Or the unbearable weight of being labeled unbeatable? To understand Rousey's collapse, we need to rewind, back to the beginning. To the moment she first stepped into the octagon and began building an empire. An empire that would collapse with shocking speed. She got hit in minutes, and I just thought, Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on in your gym? Your striking has exploded, it's like watching a world-class kickboxer. Any day of the week, she'd wreck the top women's boxers in her division. Right there on the big screen, it's all in the speed. Born on February 1, 1987, in California, Ronda Rousey entered the world already fighting. She was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck, deprived of oxygen, struggling with speech for years. But those hardships didn't break her, they shaped her. Under the relentless guidance of her mother, a former judo world champion, Rousey was thrown into the fire early. From childhood, she trained in gritty, unforgiving gyms where pain was routine and quitting wasn't even an option. Discipline was gospel, endurance was survival. In 2008, Rousey made history at the Beijing Olympics, earning a bronze medal, the first American woman to ever medal in judo. That victory wasn't just a personal milestone, it was a launchpad. MMA came calling, and she answered like a storm. From 2011 to 2015, Rousey ruled the cage like a monarch of mayhem. Dubbed the Queen of Destruction, she tore through opponents with terrifying efficiency, 11 submissions and 1 TKO in her first 12 fights. Her average fight time? Just 2 minutes and 36 seconds. She ran through names like Nisha Tate, Kat Zingano, and Sarah McMahon like they were warm-ups. Her ferocity, explosive speed, and unshakable confidence turned her into a global phenomenon, an icon of the UFC, revered by millions. But Rousey wasn't just a fighter, she was a movement. She inspired women around the world to challenge their limits. Quotes like, "You have to fight for what matters, and don't focus on what you can't do, focus on what you can," became battle cries for a generation. Rousey shattered barriers. She didn't just compete in a male-dominated sport, she redefined it. She made space for female fighters, changed perceptions, and proved that dominance has no gender. But behind all the spotlight and triumph, something dangerous had begun to grow: complacency. While Rousey soaked in the roar of fans and the illusion of invincibility, a quiet storm was brewing. Her name, Holly Holm. And she was preparing for a war Ronda never saw coming. I know where my striking stands. That's the advantage, I'm still a mystery. There's barely any footage of me out there. Holm, on November 14, 2015. At UFC 193 in Melbourne, Australia, Ronda Rousey stepped into the octagon as the undefeated juggernaut. The media hyped it. Fans braced for another swift Ronda demolition. Few gave Holm more than a puncher's chance. But the reality was a seismic shock. Holm, a former world boxing champion, came in with a flawless strategy. She kept her distance, landed crisp jabs, kicked with precision, controlled the pace. And Rousey? She refused to adjust. Instead of evolving, she charged recklessly, trying to force her judo into a fight it didn't belong in. Then, in round 2, it happened. A brutal left high kick slammed into Rousey's jaw, sending her crashing to the mat. Knocked out cold. The fight ended in just 59 seconds of the second round. Etihad Stadium, packed with over 56,000 fans, fell into stunned silence. Millions watching around the world stared at their screens in disbelief. The invincible Queen of Destruction was now lying unconscious on the canvas. It wasn't just a loss, it was the collapse of a myth. The ironclad aura of Rousey shattered in one kick. What followed was perhaps even more revealing than the fight itself. Ronda refused to shake Holmes' hand, skipped the post-fight press conference. She went silent, vanishing from public view for months. And when she finally re-emerged on The Ellen Show in 2016, it wasn't with humility or reflection. Instead, she shocked audiences by revealing that after the fight, she had contemplated suicide. What am I anymore if I'm not this? I was literally sitting there thinking, I'm nothing. Some sympathized, others were critical. What was meant to be vulnerability came off, at least to many, as emotional manipulation. Instead of accountability, it felt like victimhood. Rousey's fall wasn't just physical, it was existential. The image she'd spent years building was gone. And in its place, a haunting question lingered: who was Ronda Rousey without her crown? I'm like, what do I even do now? Nobody gives a ___ about me without all that. These weren't just confessions, they were the cracks in a carefully constructed image revealing the raw insecurity behind the bravado. What once looked like confidence now reeked of unchecked ego. What once inspired millions began to feel like a shallow performance. To many, Rousey wasn't a role model anymore. She was a cautionary tale. The fall from worship icon to internet punchline was brutal. Mocked as the hottie queen, her authenticity was questioned. And the loyalty of the MMA community, once fiercely devoted, began to dissolve. If the defeat by Holly Holm was the first seismic tremor, the loss to Amanda Nunes at UFC 207 became the death blow to Ronda Rousey's MMA legacy. December 30, 2016. Her return was billed as a triumphant comeback, the invincible queen rising again. But beneath the hype, all the signs pointed to collapse. She avoided the media. Her body language was tense. The fire that once defined her seemed dimmed. And when the cage door closed, the unraveling happened fast. Amanda Nunes wasted no time. From the first bell, she unleashed a savage barrage, crisp, surgical strikes to Rousey's face and body. Rousey had no answers, no counters, no defense. In just 48 seconds, she was overwhelmed and finished, not just beaten, but exposed. Gone was the fierce fighter who once ended bouts in under a minute. What the world saw instead was a shell, hesitant, overwhelmed, and unprepared. Once again, there was no press conference, no message to fans, only silence. But this time, it felt final. Rousey slipped out of MMA without a farewell, without even acknowledging the sport that had made her a household name. Then came the next chapter, WWE. Months later, she walked into WrestleMania 34, trading real combat for scripted stunts. To the MMA world, it wasn't just a change, it was a betrayal. The warrior they had believed in was gone. And in her place stood a performer chasing applause in a world of theatrics. It felt like a cash grab. A final pivot from passion to profit. For fans who once saw her as a symbol of grit and resilience, the move stung. Not because she lost, but because she gave up. No fight to reclaim respect. No farewell to the octagon. Just retreat, then reinvention. And for many, that felt like abandonment. This wasn't just the fall of a champion, it was the disintegration of an entire mythos. Ronda Rousey wasn't the fearless trailblazer anymore. She had become something else entirely. A warning about the cost of arrogance, the dangers of image over substance, and the loneliness of living inside your own legend. And in the end, one question still echoes: why? Why did someone with so much talent, drive, and heart repeatedly sabotage her own story? And what truly caused Ronda Rousey to spiral, crossing moral boundaries, abandoning humility, and ultimately becoming the villain in her own narrative? The answer isn't simple. It's layered, psychological, and deeply human. The pressure to uphold perfection. In the ruthless arena of MMA, Dominance is more than a goal, it's an expectation. Rousey was celebrated as an indestructible force, a living legend, but that worship may have created a paralyzing fear of imperfection. The higher she rose, the more she feared falling, and in that fear, she began to lose herself. An addiction to attention. The applause that once fueled her may have started to fade. What once thrilled now became normal, and in chasing the high again, she escalated her behavior, brash interviews, dismissing rivals, refusing to acknowledge defeat. Yes, Ronda Rousey, the queen of destruction, fell. But sometimes, a fall at the right time leaves a mark deeper than any undefeated record. And that's why her legacy will never be forgotten.